Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm Jill Kuehler, owner of Freeland Spirits. We've just been in the market since January, so brand new with our gin. We'll be releasing bourbon next month. That's right. When I first started noodling on this idea of a distillery, I decided to reach out to the pros. I'm a huge fan of Aria Gin. So I reached out to Eric. We went for coffee, and he said, terrible idea. I didn't listen to him. I persevered. I spent about a year from there looking for a space, finally found one, and then entered the hell of permitting and did not want to wait that long to get into market. So I reached back out to Eric and said, hey, how about letting us come in and use your space to make the new competing gin in town? And by God, he said yes.
Why not? Let's do it.
Bull Run. Bull Run is in our neighborhood too in Northwest Portland, and when Eric was getting started with Aria, Bull Run let them use their space to get started. And so in the spirit of paying it forward, Eric said yes, and we've spent the last 6 months taking over their space and making our gin. Yeah. So Eric, I'd love to ask you, you told me this was a terrible idea, yet you've done it twice. Just curious what the hell you were thinking. But in the spirit of camaraderie, before I let you answer, I thought I'd let you taste Portland's best gin.
Oh, wow, it's a gin, it's a challenge. It's a gin-vitational, if you will. That's okay, because chance favors the prepared mind.
Very healthy pour.
Oh, there's no sparkles or anything that can come out of that, but wouldn't that be great? Can I get you a cocktail?
Oh,
why not?
please.
Usually we do this before a big event, but we got the invitation kind of late, so we're getting a bit of a late start here. But so why did I do it twice? Can I get you a tonic?
No. Oh. Drink it straight.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. To your cup, to paying it forward.
Cheers.
Why did I do it twice? Well, there's two ways I would look at it. I would tell anybody no the first time they meet me. Because, if I said yes right off the bat, I'd really be doing you possibly doing you a disservice. Because if someone says, here's a no, and that's just it for them, they just turn tail and run away, then, this isn't the right business for you, or anybody. And the second piece is, I get a lot of people that come in here from other industries. They made money fast. They come in here from the tech world or some business where they made a lot of money fast, and they want to cut, copy, paste, rinse, and repeat the process in this industry because it's just, how cool is it to make booze for a living?
It's pretty good, isn't it?
That, now I can start my day. Very refreshing. It didn't need the tonic. You can drink this straight. But anyway, it's true. Either way, for me, this is the only business that I know. I kind of got a late start choosing my career in life. I was going down this track. I had ambition to be a lawyer. I was going to go. I took the LSATs. I was getting ready to go to law school, and one of my friends, who he had this, he brought this vodka back from Russia, and we thought, after finishing off the bottle in a night, we thought, yes, we can do this. We don't know anything about it, but we can do it. So I took a trial and error, and making a lot of paint thinner, turpentine, and other chemicals that I wouldn't put in my body, but I did. I figured this is something, we can do it. And I started my first business, first distillery. Unfortunately, I started that in 2008. And there was no way on God's green earth we could have ever made anything happen in those times. Times were tough back then. And so when we shut that operation down, I didn't listen to anybody. I thought, the regulatory agency told me, you should team up with somebody before you start this. And I said, what do they know? I can do it. They don't know anything. And boy, I found out, sure enough, I should have teamed up with somebody. And so I got off to a bit of a false start. And, I'd learned a lot. I took the lessons and tried to figure out, other people in this industry do it. They are successful, and me and my business partner Ryan, we're college-educated guys. We can figure this out. It's just a process. When our first business failed, and boy, did it ever fail. I'm lucky that I didn't have to declare bankruptcy. I'm luckier that I still have my house. But we decided, instead of running back about our day jobs, I could have gone to be a lawyer, go suck up $100,000 in debt and live a life like that, or I could take another go at it and learn from the mistakes that were made in the past, and apply it to a new operation. And basically, the one thing we took from the failure of our first business was just to not do that again. Do it in completely different ways. And when reintegrating into the business, we spent a lot of time developing the product, and but more importantly, there were some friends that we had made along the way. And fortunately, Lee Medoff from formerly of House Spirits, the guys behind Aviation Gin and Madoya Vodka. They were, Lee Medoff, he was gracious enough. He was starting his own brand new distillery over at Bull Run and had invited us to join in with him, operate under his license. And it was a win-win situation for both of us. The liquor industry, the spirits industry, is a very difficult industry to get into. It is capital forward, labor intensive, and upfront. Success doesn't come for years. And for us to move into Bull Run, it allowed us to offset his overhead and allowed us to get right to market instead of wasting what can be years building a distillery, because building a distillery is not easy. It is, it's not like opening a t-shirt shop where you can just sign a lease and be open in a week. It takes about a year and change to open one up, and it's just to wait for the regulatory compliance piece to come through. But it was a godsend for us, because it allowed us to get right to market and do the important things, and that is building the brand that would identify us, and that was to build brand Aria. And we took that, it was good for us. It allowed us to focus on brand building, build a name for ourselves and generate cash flow. And eventually, a new space opened up, not, coincidentally, 2 blocks away from Bull Run Distillery on 23rd. And we moved in there and spent our time, dealing with the legal aspects of opening a distillery. And thankfully, while all of that was going on, we still had cash flow. We still had a brand that was, out there on the market, being sold, through Oregon liquor stores and getting some traction out of state. And it just seemed to make such sense, down the road. When you approached me, is why not? It was, be a chance for me to pay it forward to you, but to do it twice. Why did I do it twice? It's. In the end, it was the only thing that I knew. I could not fathom, starting law school at this age. And, if you stick with something long enough, a lot of times it doesn't matter what it is, but if you stick with something long enough and you put enough energy and effort into it, you can make it happen.
Any questions for me?
I told you no. I said you shouldn't do it. But you seem to persevere. You didn't take my no for an answer.
Oh, I took it as a challenge.
A challenge.
Yeah, for me, I come from an agriculture background, so I see spirits as this beautiful form of agriculture. I was the director at Zenger Farm for 7 years, so coming from the nonprofit world, people often be like, wow, what an odd career. path. But my friend Corey Carmen is a rancher in Eastern Oregon, and her and I always drink whiskey together when she comes to town, and over whiskey. It's funny, both of us started this while drinking.
As it always is.
Yeah, so Corey and I are drinking whiskey, and I said, I want to make this. And she said, great, I'll grow the grain for you. And so that got me really excited about being able to work directly with Oregon farmers and ranchers to source our grain for our whiskey and botanicals for the gin. So I persevered, and I think, Eric's advice was very good of don't do it. And anytime people ask, should I do it, I say, hell no. Unless you wake up in the morning and you just can't help yourself, and then you go for it and go all in. So I think that's my answer to the why, and I couldn't be happier to work with a team of female farmers and ranchers to source our ingredients. And Molly is our master distiller, who's a background in chemistry and a master's in distilling from Scotland, and it's a group of pros developing a beautiful craft product that we're really proud of. And we couldn't be more thankful to have the community of craft distillers. Craft distilling is only 2% of the overall market, so we really believe that we're all in this together, and if we're all supporting each other, we're all gaining more of that market share. So I think.
Well, I would say, like I said, a lot of people I always tell them no, don't do it, and you come back and you're doing it anyway. And to me, a lot of people may take a bit, look at a business plan and assess their operation off of that. We all have to do the business plan. We all have to write that thing we have to do for the bank or potential investors. But to me, business plans are just a punch ticket. There's far more important things to doing this, and it can apply to just about any business, but especially in spirits. By coming back, you showed that you have the most important key to this, and that's drive. You're driven to do it. You have the passion for it. It was not some kind of just a silly idea, born as like, what the hell do I do now after making a lot of money over in tech. So you guys spent your time you're developing your product. You came to me, and it was a competing gin, and everyone was asking me, why would you, on God's green earth, would you allow a gin, a product that competes directly with mine, to come into my space and make it there? And to me, it was simple. Jill is showing me that she has the drive, then she's going to do this. And it doesn't matter if I do it for her, with her, or say no, go find somebody else or not. It's going to happen one way or another. And lo and behold, if somebody is going to make this competing product, it may as well be me, because I may, from a just purely business perspective, if the product's going to happen, I may as well make the product and take my part in it. It allowed me to be a part of your story. It allowed me to do something nice and help people who've become friends out, and kind of return the favor instead of paying it back. And I've definitely pay Bull Run back, and they get all of my respect. But more importantly, it allows me to help someone else out. And in the future, who knows? Maybe the tide may turn. Maybe you can help me out.
Yeah.
But in the end, your gin, turned out to be completely different.
Very different products. So on that note, will you tell us a little bit about Aria Gin? And I know you and Ryan spent a very long time developing the recipe.
Well, it took 4 years.
And it may have something to do with, I don't know if you know this, but women have more olfactory cells and more taste buds. So as a man, you're at a total disadvantage. And I'm curious.
You're right. The process for us, it was a lot. My business partner Ryan, he was the bar manager at Wildwood Restaurant, and when you're in that industry, your Fridays and Saturday nights, those are like your Wednesdays and Thursdays. I mean, that's where the money is made. For me, I worked a day job. I spent years at the U.S. Attorney's Office, as a paralegal there, biding my time until Aria Gin took off. And my time off was Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, and so every Saturday or Sunday, for a good 2 or 3 of those years, was going down to Ryan's house at about 8 in the morning, which would be like 4 in the morning to you guys, dragging his ass out of bed and putting the still onto the stove and say, hey, we're making a batch of gin today. That was basically how we developed it. Just kidding. That is entirely true, but how we really developed, we didn't know what we were doing. There's an old phrase that I think would be applicable, is that the march of 1,000 miles always begins with the first step. And we came at this. We used to make vodka out of honey, and we weren't successful with it just because of the business environment. But we wanted to make a gin, and when we make something, we will stop at nothing to make it what we think is right. Make it something that is sippable in its own right, something that you could enjoy on its own. And we tried over 48 different botanicals. Single distillations of different botanicals, mixing and matching, seeing what works, finding out what doesn't, what we like, what we don't. We also dropped about $1,000 buying up every brand of gin that we thought was worth it. Spending time sipping through what, again, taking notes. What do we like? What do we don't? And eventually, after the 48 botanicals, after the over 100 distillations, we finally winnowed it down to the recipe that would ultimately become Aria. And a lot of people get into the when they make gin, will be very gimmicky. They'll choose some funky botanicals and to varying levels of success. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But coincidentally, the gin that we made, the 10 ingredients that we chose are all classic traditional gin ingredients. Nothing gimmick. It was just straightforward. And we wanted to do a London dry. We didn't want to be try to reinvent the wheel. We wanted to be a local, regional alternative to a London dry style gin. And which was kind of part and parcel to saying, hey, it's okay for you guys to come in because your gin couldn't be anything more different than ours, which is why I had no problem making a competitor's gin. I wouldn't say I think you were more of our friend than our competitor, but making a competitor's gin, no 2 gins in the world are alike, and I think that is entirely the case with yours. How did you guys come up with this?
Well, first, it was a real inspiration with Aria because of that process, and zero would not settle, would spend the time to make a perfect product, and that was a huge inspiration to me. And when Molly and I first started thinking about what we wanted our gin to be like, Freeland is named after my Meemaw Freeland from Texas, who never touched a drop of booze in her life, but I grew up in her garden with her, and Molly and I were like, what would Meemaw's gin taste like? And we really wanted fresh ingredients to be used, but fresh ingredients will die during traditional heat distillation. So Molly and I were on this walk in Forest Park, and she whispered in this hushed tone, have you heard of the rotovap? And I had no idea what she was talking about, but it's a tool for vacuum distillation, so you can distill at a lower temperature. So we're using fresh ingredients of cucumber, mint, rosemary, thyme that we source from some farmers up on Sauvie Island, some gals. And then we did a similar process of 40 different botanicals distilling in our tiny little 1-gallon copper pot still, each one individually, and then just tinkering, pulling a little of this, pulling a little of this, and we created perfection in 6 months instead of 4 years, but
The 4 years had nothing to do with how exacting we are. It's just because we are just lazy fucks over in my business. So. It wouldn't be funny if it wasn't true.
So on more shift, you have a beautiful tasting room on Northwest 23rd. How has that space and having the direct sales opportunities impacted Aria's brand?
I think it's helped a lot. Our tasting room, when we moved into that spot, it's kind of what, we take the same thing we take from everywhere else, look at what everyone else is doing and do something entirely different. And, a lot of distillery tasting rooms have this backwoods, speakeasy kind of feel to it. And, to me, a place like that works in, the dark of night, but in the, light of day, it can be kind of depressing working in a dark room. And when we moved into our spot, the place that would ultimately be our tasting room was painted. It was all black walls, or black wallpaper, and black ceiling, and this cheap Chinese particle board wood flooring. That it was kind of depressing in there. And I told Ryan, hey, if we're going to be working here, we're going to be essentially living here, and I don't want to live into this, depressing space. So if black was depressing, that white, our kind of emulates our frost. It was, we wanted to make this space, our tasting room, bright, inviting, welcoming, and more of a fun place to be. And so we went completely opposite. Ripped out the particle board, went to just the raw concrete, and had some help from some friends of ours join in and help rip tile out. And we even had a black toilet in the. Yeah, I couldn't give that thing away. But making the place a little bit more inviting. We had all these white walls, and we have this real estate that I said, hey, let's get some art, local artists in here, and let's showcase some stuff. And it just turned out to be a fun thing. And I think, making the environment a place somebody wants to be in, and also having the luck and the fortune of having a space on 23rd as just simply the location has really helped, build our brand. A lot of people, if I'm out at a consumer-facing tasting event, many people will say, "Oh yeah, you're at the Aria building. I've seen your place. It's on 23rd." It's, it's like having a billboard every month that we don't have to pay for. And here we are 3 years later, and our landlord has told me that people are now starting to refer to this as the Aria building. Yeah, I'll take it. But definitely having a consumer face that is exciting, warm, and a place where somebody wants to be and hang out, definitely has helped us. And which I got to ask, it is a challenge starting a distillery. You may as well be starting a medical practice or something like that. The regulatory compliance that goes into it is enormous. But you decided not only to not heed my advice and not get and just get into the business anyway, but have also decided to open up a full bar. Most distillery tasting rooms only offer, and I only offer little sample cocktails, and that's it. I don't offer food. I don't offer seating. It's just come in at our tasting room and have a sip. But you decided to go for a full bar. You know how much that complicates things.
Yeah, time will tell if that was a good decision.
Tell me, how's that going?
So on Friday and Saturday nights, you can come to Freeland Spirits and have full cocktails, wood-fired pizza from the owner of Taste Bud Pizzas. And I think when I was getting started and I toured 50 different distilleries across the country, I really liked seeing the ones where you could have a full cocktail. Like you go to a brewery or you go to a winery and you can stay, you can enjoy that space and keep coming back. And I didn't want it just to be a place where people came and did a tasting and kind of checked it off their list. When Molly and I were really kind of coming up with what we wanted Freeland Spirits to represent, it was, not the kind of how you associate booze with backroom deals and kind of the darker side of the industry, but really building a place of beauty and education so that people can come in and go on tours and enjoy Freeland Spirits and all different forms of cocktails, and it'd be a real open and inviting space where there's no dumb question. So really a place of celebration. So Friday and Saturday nights, full bar. It's fun, it's crazy, and and I think we'll expand it to more days of the week because just, I haven't learned my lessons yet.
I just have to say my Friday night just opened up, so I know where I'm going.
That's right.
Yeah.
He thinks he can drink free there.
That's okay. I bring my own.
Well, we have just a couple more minutes, and we could keep bantering, but I thought maybe people have any couple of burning questions. Yes?
I do have a burning question for you guys. First of all, I just want to say congrats.
Pay to play. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because once you go down that path, you're not going to ever get out of it, because there's always going to be someone else that's going to pay a little bit more. And those that require pay to play up front, if you do good for me, I'll reward you on the back end. But if you want to start the proceedings with that, I'm not going to do business with you. It is illegal. And so you stick away from that. But as far as the bigger picture, when starting a distillery tasting room, you have to do it, but you have to understand it's not going to be your business. Your distillery tasting room is going to be your sideshow, and you have to have a national aim. And the one thing I could say, when you're getting out of your own tasting room, you need to conquer your home market, our state of Oregon. But when you start getting into a national program, don't be in a rush. Too many people want to be in a rush, want to hurry, and they think they're going to be the next Grey Goose. Grey Goose already happened. It's not going to happen again. In this business and in any business, you can capture lightning in a bottle, but you're only going to do it once. You can go out to the same field with the same bottle in the same time of day and set everything up exactly the same, but it's not going to happen the second time. And I would say this, to Jill. My grandfather always told me, he was a World War II veteran. He was involved in the D-Day landings, and his commanding general, Omar Bradley, 5-star general, said, to him before D-Day, you set your course by the stars and not by the light of some other asshole's ship. Look at everybody else. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing. If you want their results, do that. But if you want something more, you have to come up with your own plan, and it has to be something unique and different that is suitable for you. Choose your own success. Choose your own metric, and be above and beyond. Don't be in a rush. Choose the number of markets that you can handle on your own. As soon as you sign the dotted line to sign up for some huge, national distribution campaign, there's too many people in our industry that will, take your contract but just shelve your product because they are being bought and paid for by bigger interests than you. The one thing I could say, set your course by the stars. Come up with your own plan. You're welcome.
That's amazing. That is amazing.